Okay, let's unpack this. We're diving deep today, really getting into something fundamental, suffering, and that constant human quest for, well, for meaning, for liberation. And we've got this truly remarkable document to guide us. It's a paper fairly recent, 2025, by Philip Lilien, that's already stirring things up. It's called Coherence, the Unified Field of Suffering and Liberation. And what makes it so compelling, I think, is this audacious goal it has. It tries to bridge ancient spiritual teachings, wisdom traditions, with a really modern scientific framework, Unified Coherence Theory, or UCT. So our mission today really is to pull out the key insights, the big takeaways from this paper, give you a shortcut maybe to understanding how these two very different ways of seeing the world might actually be pointing at the same thing. The paper itself suggests this striking structural identity between them, like two languages describing the same deep reality.
Yeah, it's quite a claim, but the way it's laid out is fascinating. What really grabbed me is how it tackles the root of suffering. It calls it an illusion of separation and self-contraction.
Yeah.
But it's not just, philosophical hand-waving. The paper uses the precision of UCT to really dissect that. It's trying to offer a mechanism for why we suffer, not just a state that we do.
Okay, so that's the core idea. How does UCT actually reinterpret that spiritual concept, the illusion of separation?
Yeah.
What's the science saying there?
Well, from the UCT standpoint, it's not just like a trick of the mind. It's framed as misidentification with fragmented reductions rather than the interconnected invariant field.
Reductions versus the invariant field. Okay,
Yeah.
break that down a bit.
Sure. Think of reality like a huge seamless fabric, total interconnection. The invariant field is that whole fabric, right? The underlying unity, unchanging. Now, the reductions are like tiny threads or maybe isolated patches within that fabric. They're the fragmented bits, the temporary things we usually focus on: this body, this thought, this object. So the illusion of separation, in UCT terms, is when our awareness gets stuck focusing only on those threads, those reductions, and we mistakenly think that's all there is. We identify with the fragment, not the whole fabric.
Oh, okay, so we mistake the part for the whole.
Exactly. And the paper argues that both the spiritual paths and UCT are essentially saying the same thing. Liberation, or freedom from suffering, comes from realigning ourselves with that whole fabric, that underlying coherence.
Yeah.
It's a return to seeing the interconnectedness.
Got it. That sets the stage perfectly. So let's start where the paper starts, right at the root, this self-contraction, the illusion being the source of suffering. Spiritually, this is classic territory. They talk about the contraction around me as the first distortion, the original mistake almost. And from that, you get fear, craving, bondage, the whole package. It's called the Primordial Illusion, right? Believing we're these totally separate little units. I like that quote in the paper. The knot of suffering is not woven by the world, but by the contraction of the self.
Into the fiction of separation. Yeah, it's powerful. It shifts the blame, doesn't it, from external events to this internal state. And this is where UCT steps in with its incredibly precise language. That self-contraction, UCT defines it as exactly the assumption of separation from the ground of being.
The ground of being, like the invariant field you mentioned.
Precisely. The fundamental unified reality. And the second part is key. A misidentification of the observer with the reductions rather than the invariant field. So our sense of I, the observer, gets glued to the temporary bits, my body, my thoughts, my stuff, instead of recognizing its connection to the underlying unity. We think we're the fragments.
Okay, so we misidentify. But how does that create suffering, according to UCT? What's the mechanism?
Right, it's not passive. UCT says this misidentification leads to a collapse of resonance into isolated asymmetry nodes.
Whoa, okay. Resonance collapse, asymmetry nodes.
Yeah, think of it like a perfectly tuned system, maybe an orchestra playing in harmony. That's coherence. Self-contraction is like pulling one violin out and having it try to play its own tune, totally out of sync. That creates asymmetry nodes, points of imbalance, energetic friction. These imbalances, these kind of stuck patterns, they generate incoherence gradients.
Incoherence gradients, like ripples of disharmony.
Exactly. And those gradients, that energetic misalignment, that's what we actually feel as dissonance, anxiety, suffering. It's the system signaling, hey, something's out of tune here.
Okay, that makes sense. It's an energetic signal of being out of alignment. But why does it feel like lack, like something's missing? What creates that specific feeling?
Great question. UCT explains this through the concept of torsion in the coherence field.
Torsion, like twisting.
Exactly like twisting. Imagine energy naturally wants to flow harmoniously through the unified field. But when we create this fiction of being separate, energy has to be actively used constantly to maintain that separation.
Ah, So it takes effort to keep up the illusion.
Yes, an ongoing energetic effort, often totally unconscious. It's like constantly tensing a muscle you don't even realize you're tensing.
Yeah.
This constant strain, this twisting or torsion is what the paper says is experienced phenomenologically as lack, the endless sense that something is missing.
Wow. Okay, so that feeling isn't just psychological, it's like an energetic reality caused by maintaining separation.
That's the argument. The torsion is the feeling of lack. It's why we're always chasing something external validation, possessions, experiences to try and fill that hole. But the hole is created by the separation itself.
So we're chasing shadows, essentially, trying to fix an internal imbalance with external things.
Precisely. That pervasive feeling of not enough is the direct result of trying to sustain this fiction. So suffering, fundamentally, is coherence dissonance arising from that misidentification. It's the discomfort of being out of tune with reality.
That really flips the script, doesn't it? It's not the world doing it to us. It's our relationship to the world based on this contraction. And that leads perfectly into the next big theme, ego transcendence. Spiritual traditions often put this right at the center, calling it the profound matter. It's positioned as, what existence is about, not just some side practice. The paper contrasts this with the world's propaganda.
The constant pull towards external validation.
Exactly, convincing us that purpose is about self-fulfillment through, achieving things, getting stuff being recognized. Transient actions.
And again, UCT provides this almost startlingly technical parallel. It defines ego not just psychologically, but as an asymmetry resonance operator.
An operator, like a program setting.
Sort of, yeah. A default mode of consciousness that's tuned to resonate with, to focus on what's separate, fragmented, different. It emphasizes me versus not me. It locks on to those reductions we talked about.
Okay, so the ego is the program running the separation code.
You could put it that way. And transcendence, then, isn't about annihilation, but re-identification with the symmetry coherence operator.
Shifting the program.
Shifting the dominant operator. Tuning back into the program that resonates with unity, balance, the whole field. The core assertion here, echoing the spiritual view, is existence itself is coherence dynamics, not the reductions.
Existence is the coherence, not the bits and pieces we usually focus on.
Right. The purpose isn't found in collecting the fragments,
Yeah.
but in realizing you're fundamentally part of, or even are, the whole coherent flow.
So if it's not about collecting stuff or achieving conventional goals, what is the purpose then? According to this integrated view, that feels crucial.
It is. The paper says the purpose is inherent, to be surrendered to what is inherent. It's not manufactured, it's discovered. It's already present. UCT translates this as coherence alignment with the invariant ondialectic field. That's the ground of being again.
And surrender. That word can be tricky. How does UCT frame it?
It clarifies it nicely. Surrender here is the recognition that the meta-operator, coherence plus observer, governs emergence.
The meta-operator? Okay, what's that?
Think of it as the overarching principle governing how reality unfolds. It involves both the underlying coherence and the observing consciousness interacting. Surrender is recognizing this higher principle is at play. And practically, it means allowing the symmetry coherence operator to predominate over the asymmetry resonance operator, consciously choosing unity over separation as your operating mode, letting the harmonious flow guide you rather than the ego's fragmented impulses.
It's like consciously changing the channel in your own awareness?
That's a good way to put it, a deliberate retuning.
Okay, but what if you don't? What if you stay tuned to the separation channel? The
Yeah.
paper talks about, energetic baggage accumulating.
Yes, this is really significant. Failure to realign, accumulation of coherence, eigenvalue residues.
Eigenvalue residues, like energetic leftovers.
Kind of. Think of them as unresolved knots of energy, imprints left by clinging to separation. Every time we reinforce the egoic, fragmented view, we create these residues. And here's the kicker. These residues persist as inherited resonance patterns across lifetimes. The paper calls this coherence inheritance.
Across lifetimes. Wow, so it's suggesting a kind of energetic continuity, like karma.
It's providing a UCT framework for something very much like karma, yes. A continuity of our energetic patterns beyond one physical body. So liberation from this view isn't just feeling better. It's the actual realignment with invariance, meta-operator, which dissolves that false boundary and clears out those accumulated binding residues. It's like untangling those energetic knots.
Coherence inheritance. That definitely gives you pause. And it leads right into the next major idea. Life as a coherence chamber. Spiritually, you hear things like, the physical is not there for its own sake. It is there to help you purify the deeper being. It reframes life completely. It makes our physical existence, this whole messy business, an opportunity for realization, a designed environment for transformation.
And UCT offers this incredibly direct analogy: biological embodiment, coherence chamber. Not just a poetic image, but a functional description.
A chamber for what exactly?
Its purpose is retuning the resonance field, removing asymmetry, aligning with hypergravity invariance.
Hypergravity invariance, what's that again?
In UCT, hypergravity points to the deepest, most stable, fundamental aspect of the unified field, the ultimate coherence. So the chamber, our life, is designed to help us work out our imbalances, asymmetries, and align with that fundamental stability. It's an active process of energetic refinement.
And the paper also says, manifestation of coherence reduction cascade. What does that mean in this context?
It means the physical world, our bodies, our experiences, they're all expressions of the underlying coherence, but reduced into tangible, localized forms, like the potential energy of a waterfall becoming the kinetic energy of moving water. And the incredible opportunity within this physical reduced state is the realization of invariance within reduction.
So seeing the whole waterfall even while you're focused on a single drop.
Beautifully put. Recognizing the unified source while living within its diverse manifestations, sustaining that coherence thread through all the layers of experience.
But what if we don't take that opportunity? If we don't live the surrender in the coherence chamber? The paper warns about binding ourselves.
It's quite stark, actually. If you do not live this surrender, you are binding yourself in this lifetime and beyond it. It loops right back to those coherence eigenvalue residues.
The energetic knots again?
Exactly. The unresolved imbalances, the attachments to separation, they don't just dissolve. They accumulate and carry over, becoming those inherited resonance patterns across lifetimes. It's like failing to clean up your lab station. The residues affect future experiments.
So failing to align means carrying that baggage forward.
Right. The paper emphasizes why clinging to the fragments is ultimately futile for finding peace. Attachment to local asymmetry resonance cannot yield stability because it is fundamentally incoherent, end quote. Trying to find lasting happiness or security just in the ego or possessions or roles, it's like trying to build a house on shifting sand. Those things are inherently unstable, incoherent with the whole. Only alignment with invariance, symmetry, coherence, yields sustained resonance, bliss continuity. True stability, true peace, only comes from aligning with the underlying unified reality. That's where the energetic equilibrium lies.
It really underscores the importance of this lifetime as a period of active alignment, which brings us inevitably to death. And this idea of coherence inheritance shaping what comes next. Spiritually, you have those resonant sayings. While you are alive, you make the mind, and when you die, the mind makes you.
A powerful feedback loop.
And the caution, death is by no means simply a doorway to heaven, suggesting it's more nuanced, more conditional on how we live. It depends on what is on your mind now when you lose physical attention.
That focus on the state of mind at death is crucial, and UCT provides a potential mechanism for why. It says that during life, our observer patterns generate coherence eigenstates.
Coherence eigenstates, like our personal energy signatures.
Exactly. Unique informational blueprints created by our habitual thoughts, emotions, beliefs, actions, the unique vibe or programming of our being. Then after death, those eigenstates become the boundary conditions of your existence. They literally form the energetic reality, the landscape you then inhabit.
So we build our own post-death reality while we're alive?
In a very real energetic sense, yes. Death, in this UCT view, isn't the end. It's a reduction into the coherence inheritance layer. The brain's filtering mechanism collapses, the one that ties us so strongly to physical reality. Our core identity then shifts into these stored patterns, these eigenstates we've cultivated.
Like taking off VR goggles, the game world disappears, but the code remains.
That's a great analogy. The physical interface drops away, but the underlying energetic programming persists and becomes primary.
What about the unconscious? The sources mention that becomes really important after death. Things hidden now come to the forefront.
Yes, absolutely vital. UCT talks about the vacuum resonance memory, storing unobserved coherence residues.
Vacuum resonance memory, so not brain memory.
No, it's conceived as a non-local field holding energetic imprints, especially patterns we haven't consciously processed, unresolved stuff, hidden beliefs, unconscious biases. When death occurs, and the paper says the conscious part falls off, meaning the immediate brain-filtered awareness, then what was unconscious before is now who you are.
Wow, so the subconscious takes the driver's seat.
It becomes the dominant reality, the lens through which you experience that state. The paper explicitly links this. This is identical to your model where coherence eigenvalues accumulate and shape emergent conditions. It's a universal principle. So your post-death state isn't random. It's determined by the resonance field harmonics you cultivate during life. Your thought patterns, your emotional habits, they act as eigenmodes that stabilize future coherence cascades. They literally set the energetic stage for what comes next.
It really emphasizes the continuity. Death isn't an escape hatch, but a transition shaped by the energy we've built up. Which brings us back to liberation, the ultimate goal. Spiritually, it's about realizing release is not found in conditions, but in the return to invariance. Recognizing the suffering self was never truly separate from the field anyway.
Exactly. And UCT restates that core principle. Liberation, realignment with invariance, meta operator, dissolving the false boundary of separation. It's the final untangling, the full return to coherence.
Okay, so putting it all together, the nature of suffering, life as this chamber, death and inheritance. What's the real takeaway? What's the ultimate opportunity here according to this integrated view?
The paper frames the true opportunity beautifully, I think. It's the potential to sustain awareness of coherence and variance within and through reductions.
Meaning we don't have to wait for some future state. We can realize this now.
Precisely. The goal is to maintain that awareness of unity, of the invariant field, even while we're fully engaged in the fragmented world of daily life. In our bodies, it's about realization of the meta operator, sustaining coherence beyond reduction. Recognizing that underlying principle, coherence plus observer, and consciously aligning with it moment by moment.
Actively participating in our own alignment.
Yes. And the whole framework, the paper suggests, is an offering, an invitation to coherence, re-identification, restoring tradition, and direct experience. It's presented not just as theory, but as a practical path, bridging ancient wisdom with a coherent scientific model, potentially leading back to a direct, lived experience of our unified nature.
Okay, let's bring it all home then. The paper does this brilliant job of summarizing everything in that condensed UC2 restatement. How does that sound?
It really ties it all together. It starts, existence is not about binding to the asymmetries of ego, body, and world, but about returning to and sustaining alignment with the invariant coherence field. That fundamentally reframes our purpose. It's not about clinging to the fragments, but consciously choosing alignment with the whole, releasing the temporary for the eternal.
Right, a shift from accumulation to alignment.
Life is the laboratory, a coherence chamber where resonance patterns are tuned. This gives profound meaning to everything we experience. Every moment is a chance to refine our energy, to calibrate ourselves towards coherence.
An ongoing purification.
And death is not the end, but a reduction into the resonance states already accumulated. This underscores the continuity. What we cultivate energetically becomes our post-physical reality. It's not a reset button.
We carry our tuning with us.
Exactly. Which leads to the warning. If coherence is not consciously sustained, these states rule the post-physical identity. If we don't do the work of alignment now, our unresolved patterns, our unconscious baggage, takes over them.
The stakes feel pretty high when you put it like that.
They do. But then comes the ultimate opportunity. The ultimate opportunity is to recognize the meta-operator consciousness, enhancing coherence, and observer reducing it, and to align with symmetry coherence, transcending both gross and subtle conditions. Recognizing our own consciousness can either pull us towards unity or towards separation, and then choosing unity. That choice, that alignment, is the path to transcending all limitations, physical and energetic.
And the final powerful point the paper makes about this restatement.
That this means the spiritual teaching and UCT are structurally identical two languages for the same architecture. One mythopoetic, one ontological physical. Is arguing for a deep, fundamental correspondence, not just similar ideas, the same underlying structure of reality described in different terms, like finding the same blueprint written in both poetry and physics.
Wow. That's quite a synthesis. This whole deep dive into coherence, the unified field of suffering and liberation, really does offer a new lens, doesn't it? Seeing ancient wisdom reflected in modern science, and vice versa.
It really does. It bridges worlds. And the core message, really, is that suffering stems from that feeling of being separate, a fragment. Liberation is the return to realizing our fundamental interconnectedness, that underlying coherence. And crucially, as the paper concludes, the alignment we cultivate now in this life, in this coherence chamber, shapes our entire trajectory before and after death. It makes this life incredibly significant.
It certainly gives you a lot to think about. For you listening, what really stands out? This idea of life as a coherence chamber. Or maybe coherence inheritance. And here's something to really chew on. If our thoughts, our consciousness, genuinely shape these coherence eigenstates that persist beyond death, what does that really mean for how we choose to live right now, today, in this very moment? How does that change the way we navigate this coherence chamber? Makes every thought feel potent, doesn't it? Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. It's been fascinating. We'll explore more soon.